Senator Milne, you have the call.
Thank you, Mr President. A vote for the abolition of the clean energy package is a vote for failure because it is a recognition that this parliament doesn't want to face up to the 4 to 6 degrees of warming, which is the trajectory we are on as a planet. They don't want to face up to what is intergenerational theft, because a planet facing the warming that we are now subjected to and will be subjected to is a planet which is experiencing the 6th extinction crisis. It will be a planet suffering rising sea levels. It will be a planet suffering food security crises, and it will be a nation, Australia, failing to play our role in global negotiations. We will be a global pariah as the rest of the world moves to try to secure a treaty in 2015 to give people on this planet a chance of survival in the face of a climate emergency. And Australia will be relegated to a pariah and a backwater. But it's also a failure to understand that the future is going to be powered by renewable energy, by innovation, by excitement, by new manufacturing. We are, if this parliament votes to abandon the clean energy package, you are voting against the best interests of the nation. It is a huge opportunity cost to Australia. We will be sidelined in global capital markets. We will be sidelined in innovation. Already GE is out today saying that the pipeline of investment in renewable energy is in jeopardy because of what Australia is doing. This is an appalling day for Australia when a government, rather than lead in the face of what the world is facing up to, and rather than lead and be ahead in the race to the future, is determined to stick with the past. And so, Mr President, the Greens say absolutely. This will be a short-lived victory for the Abbott government and those who vote with it today, because Australia will not stand for it. People want this country to lead. People want innovation. People want the clean energy future, and people will understand very quickly that the supposed benefits, and they won't be realised, but what people will face is another summer of extreme weather events and more summers after that, as our Pacific neighbours will. And so, Mr President, I'm here to say that the Greens will join with everyone across the country in bringing back to this parliament a more rigorous framework of legislation that will get Australia onto the track we need to be on, and that is a 40 to 60% emission reduction target on 2000 levels by 2030 and net carbon zero by 2050. That's the kind of ambition that we will be out there talking to the community and making sure we get back to this parliament, because we will give hope to future generations. That's what we are going to do, go out and provide hope and a focus on the future, while the government and those who support it today are going out to the community, focusing on the past and giving people nothing but despair. The future demands people who face the challenges posed now, and the Greens are up and ready for that task.
The question is Senator McDonald.
And as one who at the very beginning of this debate crossed the floor against my own party at the time, I would just like to say a couple of words on the final debate on this long-running issue. First of all, Mr Deputy President, you've heard from the Greens political party the ultimate of hypocrisy. The Australian people clearly, at the last election, voted on what everyone knew was a referendum on the carbon tax to get rid of the carbon tax. And I want to congratulate those political parties who went to the election promising the repeal of the carbon tax and who have actually voted on the basis upon which they were elected here. And I mentioned the Democratic Labor Party, Senator Xenophon, the Palmer United Party, the Liberal Democrat Party and the Family First Party, all of whom made it quite clear when they went to the election, like the coalition, that if you voted for us, we would get rid of the carbon tax. And it is the ultimate of hypocrisy for the Greens political party then to say that they know better than the Australian public. They know better than our fellow Australians voting at an election. And it's typical, Mr Deputy President, that the Greens think they know better than everyone and want to guide everyone else's
Order
life.
on my left.
And let them go, Mr Deputy President. I enjoy it. They will not understand the will of the Australian people, and yet they claim to be part of a democracy.
Senator Whish-Wilson.
Part of a democracy, and they don't do it. And Mr Deputy President, can I conclude again on a matter that I mentioned on my very first speech in this place? If there is a problem with global warming, notwithstanding that in Brisbane on Saturday morning we had the coldest day in 113 years, but I leave that behind. I've always indicated, Mr Deputy President, I have an open mind on this. But, Mr Deputy President, what I do say is that Australia emits...
Order on my left.
Australia emits less than 1.4% of global emissions. And without serious work by the United States, China, Russia and the European Union doing a 5% reduction in Australia will make not one iota of difference to all of the things which the leader of the Australian Greens political party would have us believe will occur as a consequence of today's vote. Mr Deputy President, I congratulate the Australian public for their decision, and I congratulate all the parliamentarians who have followed the dictates of the